So in this SAP IAG and BTP security, especially this is around 1 month course, 1 to 1.25 month course, and in this, like, especially we are learning about the cloud identity and access governance, which is just introduced by SAP in few years ago only, and then we'll be learning like a BTP security also, because whenever we want to give the access or we want to do or learning IAG, it's mandatory to learn the BTP security before going to the IAG. Okay, so for that reason, like, we have to go for SAP BTP security first and then IAG later. So in this, initially we'll be telling you like what are the components are there, what is the introduction of SAP cloud identity and access governance, and then after that we'll be learning like what are the specific features are there, introduction is there, and what is the challenge in securities and governance we have, and what is the specific architecture of SAP cloud IAG, what type of system we can connect with SAP IAG, and the comparison between IAG and GRC. So because the GRC is also a governance tool, and SAP IAG is also a governance tool. Okay, so in this especially we are teaching about like what is the specific architecture is there and what is the difference between IAG and GRC, because both IAG and GRC is same type of addressing same type of issues related to the governance. So the difference why the client has to go for SAP IAG and why the client has to use GRC. So this is one important aspect of understanding perspective. So we are learning going to learn this as well. So after this, like, we are going to learn like a security and authorization, how we can provide access to the users in the cloud IAG system, and what is the minimum roles is required, and why the authorization concept, and what kind of authorization we have to provide to the users. Then we'll be learning like SAP BTP. Okay, so see, like BTP is a like cloud platform which is given by the SAP as a platform where all the components will be installed there. So it is something similar to like you can assume as a kind of operating system. So if you use the operating system, you are able to install many components on this, right? You can install Office, for example, you can install your Adobe, for example, you can install any graphics if you want to use, right, graphic software. So the idea here is like operating system is a kind of platform where you can add your software components, right? In similar case, SAP cloud platform is also a kind of platform where you can add especially all the cloud systems on it, okay, or install all the cloud system on it. So for example, if you want to use IAG, which is nothing but the cloud application, so that can be added on your BTP platform. Similarly, any other cloud components are there, like cloud for analytics, for example, if you are using, okay, so this also can be added on your BTP platform. So like that, it is one kind of platform similar to your buffet platform where you can add different type of dishes, right? So that's the idea here, the BTP. So any query on the basic understanding of BTP, right? Anyone? Gaurav? See.
No, Vikas, I'm good here.
Okay, fine. So like that, the idea for the BTP. So the idea here, suppose we install this component, like suppose IAG we install or add it to the BTP platform, right? So in case if you want to provide access to any user in IAG, first of all, like, we have to as an administrator, we have to go inside the BTP, and then we have to create his ID for that particular application. Then only he is able to access that IAG system. Means we have to log into as an administrator in BTP. We have to create their ID in BTP, and then we have to assign a specific role which is especially for the IAG. Then once we will be going to share the link for the IAG, and then the user, once he log in with the user ID and password, then he is able to log in into the IAG application, and according to the role he is able to get the query application related to the IAG. Okay, so there are many other aspects there. I'm just giving very basic example, like using BTP you can provide access to the user for the installed application on the platform. Okay, similar to your buffet, like you have all the applications, all the dishes are there, and if you want to take any of the dishes which is there on the buffet, only those you can get it, not outside the buffet or outside the table any dishes if you are requesting. Okay, yeah, any query, anything? So if no, then I just move on. So here we have something called a directory concept in BTP. So really the directory concept is something like a separation of the folders, and this especially used, the directory especially used to make a distinction between like a type of systems. So especially like if you have the development, quality and production system, so you can separate with the help of the directory. Okay, and within a directory you can add some sub account concept. So we'll learn later like what is the purpose of the sub account here in the BTP. So it is something like if you create a folder like a development folder in BTP or directory, and then if you link this with the sub account, so once whatever the component if you have, that will be given to your development folder, you can say within a development folder. Like if you have IAG, if you have cloud for security, that is a development system, these two development system for the landscape, so that you can keep into the directory, so that you know that if you are giving that link to the user, that is nothing but the IAG development system, or if you are giving this link to like analytics for cloud analytics, for example application, so this is for the development cloud analytics system link. So for that reason we have the directory and sub account concept here to make sure that we'll be creating user for a particular development system, and within development system particular application. So that's the main concept behind the directory and sub account, and how to manage this users and authorization in using these two concepts that we are learning especially. Okay, so then like the subscription request, so like it is like a kind of platform. BTP is a kind of platform. As your client want to add any new cloud application, so they can again install there, so that we call as a subscription, for example. So if you want to add some more new software, so you have to subscribe it, and then once you have to pay that subscription fees to the SAP, that the new system will be added on your platform, like a BTP platform. So for your client, maybe initially 2 applications will be there. If they subscribe one more, then you can see 3 applications on your BTP platform. Understood? Any query here? Similar to your operating system, suppose you install Office, and then later if you want to add Adobe software on your operating system, so you can install again other one. So similar to like subscription here. So if you want to add any cloud application or your platform, then you have to subscribe it, and for subscription you have to pay the money to SAP. Okay, I hope it is okay. Shravya, Gaurav, or anyone, or Puneet?
Yes, Vikas.
Vikas, just a small question. Like for BTP, we'll be having specific URL. So similarly, do we have specific URLs for directories which we'll be creating?
Not the directory, but within a directory, like which what are the application we are subscribing, for those we have the application link.
Okay.
Okay, so like if suppose you subscribe like IAG, so IAG if you are subscribing, so normally like you have the development and production normally, okay, which is coming by default. So like you can keep the development link separately into the development folder. It is nothing but subdirectory, you can say, and then you can create one more directory as a production, and then you can keep the information of the subscription for production system. So that will be like you have the two systems, you can say, okay, two different links. One is for the directory 1 and one is for the directory 2, and that directory 1 link you can say it is a development IAG link, and directory 2 you can say it is a production IAG link. So that is the main purpose for the directory. So logical distinguish between like which application is for which landscape.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, good. So that's the thing. So for this, like how we can create a users in BTP, and how we can create a role also. So we have the option to create roles also. So this role is not similar to like our PFCG role that we can create in BTP, but we have SAP defined role itself. But if you want, you can club together these roles, or if you give the combination of the roles to the user, so by which we can provide access to the users using BTP. Okay, and that number of roles you can club together, we call as something called a role collection. In that many terms, many times you can heard this role collection word during the class. So it is nothing but like similar to your composite role, and that it is a container of your role, single role kind of thing, you can assume. Okay, and then we can assign this role collection to the users. So first we create a user in BTP, and then we assign the role collection to the user which we created into the BTP. Okay, so that's the idea here, right? So the important thing here, in case if suppose we want to provide access to the user for IAG, so we are not going to create user in IAG directly, but we are going to create user in BTP cockpit. Okay, and then we have to assign the role collection to them according to their responsibility. If somebody is working for the risk analysis, so the risk analysis role has to be assigned to them. If somebody working for the ARM, for example, similar to ARM, it's not the same name actually in the IAG, but the concept wise I'm just saying the naming. So like access request management is something like we are connecting IAG with some satellite system. So using IAG you can create a user, means nothing but similar to your ARM thing. So those access we can control for that user using BTP. Okay, I hope at least it will give you the little framework how the BTP works, right? Anything?
Yes,
Any
Vikas.
question? Are all okay? Ravi, Puneet?
Yes, Vikas.
And how do we transport things in B2B?
Yeah, so see here, no transport concept is there. Download, upload option is the option here. No transport
Okay.
concept is there. Okay. And here, like the customization part is less in the scope. So the customization can only be possible with the ABAP, most of the thing. Okay, something like a is not the application level, but yeah, the master data level you can do the customization. That's allowed. But other customization scope is less. Suppose you want to modify your screen, or if you want to modify something in your IAG, so which is not very easy, okay, because it is controlled by SAP, all the cloud applications. So like you have to know the knowledge, so first of all, like a web thing, and then within a web, like it has to be like taken the permission from SAP to add something into your current landscape. So it's not so direct like to make changes. And if you want to create your own role, like you can create a custom role, but you cannot create a single role by your own. Okay, so you can only use the combination of the standard role which is given by SAP to provide access to the user, but not directly creating your own role to provide access to the user. Okay, so that is some limitations. We'll see that what are the limitation later, but that is the main idea for BTP. So that's the reason BTP is very important for us as a security administrator or consultant to know the BTP and BTP concept and security before going to the IAG. Okay, so I hope it is okay with everyone, right? So I'm just moving next then. So here, especially like cloud identity and authentication services we are using. So that IaaS service, like we have cloud identity and authentication services, we call as IaaS. So IaaS especially is used as a user, so to authenticate whether this user will be valid or not valid. So initially, whenever we want to create any user in the BTP, for example, or in IAG, for example, so before that, if we are using this identity authentication service given by SAP, so SAP provided one default identity service. So the one prerequisite is there if we are using the default identity services given by SAP. So we have to create the user ID in the SAP landscape, or SAP, you can say SAP sign as a global account. So if you know, like S user account is there, right? So that account you have to create in SAP site, and then the same account and the email ID we are utilizing to provide you the access in BTP or IAG. Okay, and the system is going to authenticate you using this particular system or application you can call. Okay, so that is nothing what we call as a IaaS. So once you log in, system checks whether your ID has been created into SAP account. If your ID exists, then it will allow you to get inside into the system and application, and then you are able to access the IAG application or BTP application, for example. Okay, so that is nothing but the default identity services we call. So we see in the detail what is IaaS service, and within an IaaS, like we have something called IPS also, like identity provisioning services. So this also will be coming along with your application. Like if you purchase IAG, these two is also coming along with that. So it's one thing, like we can either use SAP default identity, or in case if you want to create your own identity provider, for example, if you are connecting LDAP system with your landscape, so instead of the default one, you can utilize your LDAP as your identity provider. Okay, so that can be also possible using these services. And then to make it works, like we have to set up the relation or trust relation between IAS and IAG, so that if we make the trust relation, so IAS will be your authentication information provider, you can say, and it will provide the authentication to your IAG, and using IAG we can create the users in satellite system. Okay, so this will become your similar to your LDAP. So using LDAP, suppose you want to create any ID using GRC, so LDAP is your source of the information for the user, right? So in the similar case, if you are using IAG and you connected IAS, so IAS, all the user will be available from IAS, and then once you create any ID using IAG to any satellite system, if the user exists in IAS, then you can able to create the ID into any connected system with IAG. Okay, so for that, to make the communication between these two systems, you need a trust relation between that. Okay, so we'll see that what is the meaning of this once we go to practical. Okay, and integration, that's anyhow the same thing. And within that we have something called a group. If you know something related to the LDAP, so within the LDAP, like how we provide the access to the user, so it is something like we have to create a group, right? So within a group we have to add those users, so then it will be linked to a particular group. So like a manager, if you want to provide the manager as a group, so you can create a LDAP group there, and then you can assign those people who is working as a manager as a LDAP group manager, right? And similar to that, we will be also having the group concept in IAG. So this is nothing but to provide access to the user or identification of the users as a specific person. Okay, so that is the purpose of group here. So that we'll be using in IAG, and using this we can able to provide indirect access to the user in IAG. So we'll see that what's really it is. So any question by anyone?
So SSO, because SSO configuration is also possible.
Yes, SSO configuration is also possible, and then like you have to add those services and activate those SSO services. What is required for this enable for the SSO? That is also possible here.
Okay. And S user is a prerequisite.
For the first time, if you are not, suppose if you not enable IAS services and your identification services, right? How the user can be identified, or the data source, you can say in the GRC term, if we call as a data source, right? So if you are not configuring, so at least some of the data source is required. So if it is a default data source, if you are using, so you need the SID. Okay.
Okay.
So at least for the first user, you need definitely. Okay. So after that,
So-
you can set up your LDAP as your data source, and then if your ID is already there in the LDAP, so it is not taking maybe from the default one. You can enable your custom identity provider as your LDAP directory or your HR system, and then it will take it from there. It will not go and search whether ID exists in this default identity or not.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that is the one, and then the integration of IAG, like with IAG, which type of system we can connect, like similar to your GRC, which different type of system we can connect with like your IAG. So we can connect even GRC system, we can connect like on-premise, any S4HANA on-premise system, we can connect any cloud system with IAG, especially the cloud system is the important thing, which is the making difference compared to your GRC. So GRC is very limited for very few cloud system you can connect, especially with the GRC 12. But for IAG, mostly you can connect all the type of cloud system with IAG and do all the activity which you can perform using the GRC. Okay, so that's the major difference compared to IAG and GRC. So in GRC, especially on-premise system, most of the on-premise system you are easily able to connect, but with IAG you are able to connect most of the cloud system easily. So that is the major changes you can say in between. But we have the option to connect, integrate IAG with GRC on-premise system, and we can see like GRC, if we have the embedded system with GRC, so nothing but like we'll be connecting GRC and S4HANA together with IAG. Similar to if you have S4HANA system separately, that also we can connect in IAG or ECC system, for example. Okay, so that we'll be checking how to do this connection, and in case if you want to connect the any on-premise system, so we need additionally one more important thing, that is like you need first of all like a cloud connector. That is important thing. With cloud connector only we can connect on-premise system with IAG. So that is one prerequisite. And second thing, we have to create two RFC connection. One is for HTTP connection and one is for the RFC connection. So that means we have to create two connection to RFC into the system for connecting any on-premise system. So these two is required. Instead of like in GRC, if you are connecting any satellite system, you need only RFC connection. But if you are using like IAG to connect any on-premise system, you additionally need this also, HTTP connection as well. Okay, so this will be learning like how we can connect any system, on-premise system with IAG. Okay, so those system communication user we are creating a satellite system. We have to create some destination in BTP system, and then we have to use the synchronization also. So this synchronization job similar to your GRC, we also have in IAG to bring those information. Okay, and then how to schedule a program and how to sync other jobs. So we're learning in detail like what are the other jobs are available in IAG and what is the purpose of it. Okay, sounds okay. Anyone, any question? Gaurav, Prashant, Puneet?
No, we have no question.
Fine.
Okay. I think Shabnam is an issue. And then the similar case, like we'll be learning like how to integrate any cloud system with IAG. Okay, so this also will be learning, and then the integration of IPS, which is a cloud services that we'll be connecting with IAG, and then like we can use the IAG to create any ID in IPS service or IPS system that we also can see. Okay, so with this, like we are going to see how we can create ID in the on-premise system, and with this we are going to see how we can connect cloud system and how we can create any ID into this cloud system also. Okay, so this is the two integration we are learning here, and then we'll be learning about master data setup in IAG. So the master data we also have to set as a prerequisite, so we have to define some business process, sub process, some functions. We have to create segregation of duty. Similar to that, we have to create segregation of tasks we have to create. Then IAG repository, some sync job and job overview, which are different type of repository jobs are available into IAG, similar to a GRC, how to sync and schedule those jobs. Okay, and what is the purpose of each of them. And then we have in IAG we have these 4 modules as well, like access analysis services, same as your access risk analysis. So in this line we can define how to define the like a different type of risk, how to analyze, how to mitigate, and how to monitor the risk. And to make this happen, like we have to do some master data setup in access analysis services, risk rule set upload in by SAP, that will be using given by the risk by SAP. So how to upload into the module, this module. Okay, and some validation we can do, how to find out the user risk analysis, how we can define the custom risk rule set, how we can do the mitigation control configuration, some dashboard for analyzing the reports for the risk score policy we can set up. So access refinement, in case of risk, how we can refine the risk, refine the access so that risk is removed, and shortcoming of IAG compared to SAP GRC. So this shortcoming we are comparing on the basis of the module. So what we can do in GRC and what we can do in IAG, which will be having benefit in both of the components. Then the role designer in SAP IAG. So like similar to your BRM, we'll be learning here how to set up the master data for role designer. Repository sync also we have to done, a role owner how to create, and access assignment, access maintenance in IAG, business role creation in SAP IAG. Here we have something called candidate business role creation overview. So here something new is there, business role creation. So this candidate business role creation means something like you can say a little optimization of the thing. So whatever the user needs it, so based on the analysis, like a machine learning analysis, the system proposed that if you are providing this role which will be used by this many number of times, so with this system propose some of the access to the user. So we see that how to, or which roles you can say the user is used most number of time, and based on that you can design the role. Okay, so suppose you assign 10 roles to the user, and you see that okay, 2 roles is not being used by the user. Okay, so if it is not used by the user for most number of time, then you can remove those roles. So that is nothing but the concept of candidate business role. Okay, so for that we can do some kind of simulation here also, and create the role also, and then the shortcoming of the IAG and SAP GRC BRM. So any question by anyone?
No, it does.
Okay, so then the access request module, the same module like ARM what we have in GRC, So in this also some master data setup we have to do so that ARM has to work, and then business rule workflow upload by SAP, workflow configuration, customization we can see, custom field setup if you want to set, that also we can set here, access assignment for different type of owners, access request workflow process, audit trail analysis. So where is that request is being awaiting, some ARM related job and overview, and then limitation of IAG and GRC access request management. So this will be learning here in this particular unit. Okay, and then we have the access certification in SAP IAG, similar to your periodic review we will be doing, right? Periodic access certification we have, right? So similar to that we have access certification in IAG as well. So planning for periodic review for user access certification configuration. So sometime if you feel that some role is not required by the user, so we can remove those roles from the user access, and we are monitoring during the period of the time like 6 months or 1 year those review. Okay, so that also we can do in this module, access certification in SAP IAG. So that is the one thing. So this is also okay, or any question by anyone?
Yes, okay.
Okay, right. Then we have one more a module like SAP IAG privilege access management, similar to emergency access. So that also we'll be learning how we can provide the emergency access to the user, and what is the different type of configuration we have to do to achieve that, and what is the different type of report and monitoring for the privilege access management that we'll be learning here in this module. Okay. So once this is done, then we have the one more module or unit. That unit is SAP IAG bridge concept. So in this bridge concept especially we are learning like how we can link IAG with GRC, and then different type of connectors, and what is the specific thing that suppose you some of the things or some of the modules you want to utilize from IAG, but some of the module you want to implement or utilize using GRC. So that will be the concept of bridge concept we call. So that we are learning like how to integrate and how to use it. And at the end, like SAP IAG reporting services, so there SAP IAG also providing some of the reports, different type of report for all the 4 or 5 modules you can say. So we can run some of the report and see what are the different type of result we have, which we can utilize during the business cases. Okay, so that will be also learning. So that's the one, especially is the course overview or an outline that we'll be learning here. So if you have any question, let me know. And this is a kind of,
So because if we have to, I have a question because so if we have to implement IAG, so how is the timeline? We suggest how much time it will take to implement IAG and all that stuff. Shall we discuss that also?
yeah, actually the timeline and the estimate for implementing IAG, so that completely depend on the number of system you are connecting and the number of module your client want to implement it. Okay, but the idea here is the IAG, suppose you are implementing one cloud system with IAG for example, and then you can say you want to implement all the 4 modules. So in rough case, in the ballpark figure, like you can say like approximately 6 months it is required to implement it. Okay.
For one system.
For
With one system.
With all the 4 modules. Okay.
Okay. And if there is a GRC already, access control already installed, so generally SAP is suggesting that GRC is not needed when you are using IAG. So how do you really recommend clients to proceed? Should they keep both GRC system plus
yes.
IAG?
So
Or
initially they have to keep both. That's correct only. But later, suppose if the client is not having any new systems, okay, for example, like Ariba, SuccessFactor, or cloud system it doesn't have in the landscape, right? Or Fieldglass or something. So then maybe GRC is okay for them to use it. Okay, they doesn't need IAG, frankly. But in case if the client is new and they having all the new system in their landscape, for example, most of the cloud systems they have, but they doesn't have all the old systems. For example, ECC, VW, or any other system which is on-premise system, as you know, right? So it is better to go with IAG, because the IAG is meant for that basic purpose to support most of the cloud systems. Okay, the connectivity and other things are good with IAG.
Okay. And when SAP is in RISE, so is there any difference between connectivity of IAG there with on-prem?
No, one difference I told you, right? Like you have to create two RFC connections, HTTP connection plus RFC, these two. So this will be coming additional, that using cloud connector you have to do these two connections.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
But in GRC, if you remember, like we have to create only RFC connection, right? HTTP connection we are not creating normally. So that difference comes into picture now.
Thank you, Vikas.
Okay, good. Any other question by anyone? So yeah, so that is the thing. Okay, before moving to the slides, like anyone, any question? So here, like a troubleshooting is little difficult here compared to your GRC, because in GRC you have the option to make the traces and then find the issues. But here it will give you the hint, like whenever you have the error, it will give you some hint on your screen itself, and you can have to read it most of the time. And if you want to make some changes, like some configuration is not working or something is not connected properly, so normal cases like people has to raise the OSS message, because those system access or system, you can say system configuration access will be taken care by the SAP. So it is not open for everyone, so it is especially with SAP. So most of the errors will be dealt by SAP only currently. Okay, so that one pointers are there. So anyhow, let's see that. So in this, like what I just walked through you, like what is the type of like slides we have and what we are discussing. So basically IAG introduction and what is the key message. If we are using GRC and security levels, we can search here. The IAG overview, we can learning like what is the 4 modules. So in brief, we just discuss it right now. So these are the modules we will be having in SAP IAG, and we will be learning how to configure all this 5 module, you can say, and then how to utilize IAG with using this. So we will be creating some risk, we will be creating some business role, we will be creating some access request, we will be doing some access certification or emergency access, and we will be showing you practically in using IAG how we can do this application working into the system. Okay. And then some cloud architecture IAG related one. So what really is these are like modules we have, and then you have the HANA DB for this cloud. Okay, and we have something called like these are the internal components we have, technical component you can say. And if we are connecting any system, so these are the different type of system we can connect with IAG here. We can connect BTP, SAP C4C Cloud 1, SuccessFactor, for example, Ariba, S4HANA on cloud system, or on-premise system also, like your S4HANA on-premise, ECC on a system, that also we can connect with IAG system. Okay, so that is just an idea for you to know that the integration thing, and then anything whatever you want to use it. So here, like in GRC, you have the NWBC, right? No, but here we have everything will be there in the Fury. So if you want to do anything, like if you want to create any race, if you want to design a role or access request, everything will be in the Fury. Using Fury you can do this, right? So that's the idea. And yeah, you have the cloud entity and IPS service. So this is like on cloud. So whenever you are creating any user, if you are not creating any user, by default it will take from SAP identity provider. But if you configure your custom identity provider, it will see that if the ID is already existing in your custom identity provider, then only you are able to create the user in any satellite system. So that will be your cloud entity services. Okay, sounds okay everyone? Any question?
No, that's okay.
So this is like a detail level architecture. So like here the cloud systems are there, on-premise system is there, any of the firewall, and this will be network team will taken care everything. Your connection also really in real scenario. But for us to know that it's a good idea to understand the architecture, how it can work here. So like IAG can be installed on HANA database, that is mandatory thing. And then you have these services you can call. Normally in GRC we call as a module, but in IAG we call these components as services or module as services here. Okay, and to do this anything like you need Fiori. So all the application related to access and access, a role designer or access request management, instead of NWBC, everything is visible here in the Fiori tiles. Okay, and then if you want to create any risk, you have to use the Fiori application for the risk, for example, to create any risk or any role designer, any of the services here. Okay, so this is like a architecture what we have, and here is the like different type of services again. So if anything you do access risk analysis, so we have the audit log services given by SAP, or if you are using like a BRM, so BRM also we can use as a service, the workflow as a service. So these are the service also we have to enable into the system, so then only this thing works in your system. So this is everything here we call as a services, and that also has to be active in the system. Okay, so that's the core idea behind like architecture. All right. Okay, so yeah, Gaurav, anything?
No, Vikas.
Okay, good then. So yeah, that's the one for this demo. Okay, so we'll be starting our class from coming Friday. Okay, this Friday, and the timing will be like 9:15 to 10:15 in the morning. So you all has to ping me, and then we'll take it from here. And we'll be providing you this PPTs, like a step-by-step PPT to you, and also like the server access for a month, so that you can do your practice as well. And then you will be getting some videos. Okay, so these videos like we will learning here, so you can view those videos as well. And that access you will be providing for 3 months at least. You can have the access, so you can view and see again and again. And if you have any questions, so this question and queries, there is no limitation. Anytime, lifetime, you can ask me any questions related to that one, or outside this also. That's fine. If you have any query related to any other component of security, that's fine.
Thank you, Vikas. And because these sessions will be recorded and shared also.
Yes. The view option is given by you all for 3 months.
Thanks. And Vikas, time is fixed, or can we do something about timings also, or is it fixed 9:15 to 10?
Mostly it is fixed, but yeah, we can discuss timing. Some evening time also we have some time.
Okay.
Or we can check it. So you just ping me all your preferable time.
Sure.
Also, but little bit change we can do. That's possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So
Is it every Friday or how is it like?
no, every day, Monday to Friday, 5-day week, daily 1 hour we do, and then it will go for 1 month to 1.25 months.
And because as you will be teaching us all these things, so shall we get server access to practice all that stuff?
Yes, yes. You will
Okay.
get server access for a month. Okay. We cannot give you like a longer period. It is costly one. Okay. And we don't have any option to bypass it because it's coming from SAP. So we have to purchase from SAP, or either we have to purchase from the SAP provided vendors only, SAP partners only. Okay.
So if we have to purchase that, we can do it ourselves also later.
Yes. That's
Okay,
possible.
thank you.
Okay, so that's all for today's, and hope you enjoy the demo. Okay, and ping me separately on the WhatsApp, so I will register you, and then you can take it from me. Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Vikas.
Sure, Vikas. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome everyone. Have a nice weekend. Take care.
Good weekend. Good.
You too. Bye bye.